The European Union purchased Ukraine's sovereignty, while Ukraine's army abandoned their posts, and a truth commission is selling Crimean land. Welcome to Stop Fake, the place where we break down Russian fakes about Ukraine and a little more. So let's get to it. Ukraine has been receiving European Union macro-financial assistance since 2014. For Ukraine, the policy conditions for its €1.2 billion MFA program relate to strengthening public finance management, governance and rule of law, reform of the judiciary, competition in the gas market, improving the business climate, and governance of state-owned enterprises. Nowhere in the bilateral agreement regarding the aid is there a single condition that implies or states that Ukraine is, quote, obliged to sacrifice its sovereignty in exchange for receiving aid. Now, EU financial aid to Ukraine is a topic that the Russian disinformation machine is quite fond of. The disinformation narrative goes like this. The aid is granted at great cost to Ukraine, and the country is creating a black hole of debt for future generations. But the latest spin on this narrative, according to Russia's news front, is that in return for a loan, Ukraine's parliament has allowed for the country to surrender part of its sovereignty to the European Union. Fake stories on this theme began appearing in Russian media after July the 23rd, when the EU officially approved an agreement on a €1.2 billion macro-financial loan to Ukraine. Brussels agreed to transfer half of the funds to Ukraine at once, but in order to receive the next $600 million, Ukraine must carry out a number of reforms. To that end, on August the 25th, Ukraine's parliament adopted a law on the ratification of the Memorandum of Understanding between Ukraine and the European Union and the credit agreement between Ukraine and the EU. Russia's war against Ukraine and the acute balance of payment crisis that Ukraine experienced in the aftermath of Viktor Yanukovych's presidency compelled Kyiv to approach the EU for macro-financial assistance. The Memorandum of Understanding between Ukraine and the EU regarding the loan lists the political actions that Ukraine has committed to taking in order to receive the assistance. The agreement does not call for any surrender of sovereignty. On the contrary, the agreement sets forth a list of reforms that Ukraine is bound to undertake that are aimed at strengthening democratic institutions in Ukraine. Ukrainian and Russian media all disseminated Kremlin-inspired stories claiming that Ukrainian armed forces had abandoned their fortified positions near the city of Horyuka at the request of Denis Pushilin, the head of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic. The first to feature this fake story was the Strana.ua site, and others quickly followed suit. On September the 5th, Strana.ua published a story claiming that Denis Pushilin had ordered that Ukrainian army positions be shelled on September the 7th. According to Pushilin, the Ukrainian army had dug new trenches near Horyuka after the July 22nd agreed-upon ceasefire. He claims his demand that the trenches be filled was ignored, and that is why he ordered the shelling. Then, on September the 6th, Strana followed up the Pushilin claims with a fake story claiming that Ukrainian military had abandoned the positions that Pushilin had threatened to shell. The publication claims to have spoken with a Ukrainian serviceman who was deployed to the area, who told them that soldiers had left the area and the trenches were being filled. The area at the center of this fake narrative is held by the 503rd Ukrainian Marine Corps Battalion. They have gone on record publicly to say that they continue to remain in the Horyuka area and have not abandoned any positions, nor have any of their soldiers or officers ever spoken to Strana.ua. The 503rd warned people on its Facebook page saying, quote, let's pay attention to informational hygiene. On September the 6th, a newscast on Ukrainian Channel 5 featured serviceman Oleksiy Hodzenko from the 503rd Battalion, who said that the Ukrainian military was staying put in the Horyuka area and would continue to defend these positions. Horyuka is a regional center in the Donetsk Oblast, located some 40 kilometers north of Russian-occupied Donetsk city. Ukraine plans to divide Crimean territories with the help of a truth commission, if you believe several Russian news sites that were reacting to the announcement that Ukraine was planning to create a transitional justice mechanism for Crimea and the Donbass, Ukrainian territories that were annexed and occupied by the Kremlin. According to RIA Novosti, and then followed by the Federalnoye Agentstvo Novosti, Vesti Krima, Rossiyskaya Gazeta, Komsomolskaya Pravda, and Vzglyad, the idea is simply a plan to intimidate Crimeans and sell Crimean land. A wave of distorted fake stories on the topic of transitional justice swept through Russian media after the permanent representative of Ukraine for Crimea, Anton Korinevich, told Ukrainian journalists about legislative initiatives aimed at deoccupying Crimea and Donbass and reintegrating them into Ukraine. Now, Kyiv is building on international experience in transitional justice over the past decades by countries with armed conflicts. Transitional justice is based on 4 principles: bringing the perpetrators of the conflict to justice, establishing the truth, institutional reforms, and communicating the truth about the armed conflict. Such models of justice have been used in Argentina, Chile, Liberia, Congo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and other post-conflict countries. The concept of transitional justice is always welcomed by the international community, as this model helps to restore the rule of law in the belligerent countries. Broadly speaking, transitional justice is the process of bringing peace and democracy to a conflict region. The concept is based not only on criminal law, but also on the restoration of justice after the end of the conflict. This model has nothing to do with dividing land, as Russian news sites claim. According to Anton Koronevich, one of the main tasks of transitional justice in Ukraine is to bring the invaders of Ukrainian territories and their accomplices, or people who collaborated with the occupation administration, to justice. Koronevich stresses that this pertains to only about 5% of the population. Koronevich said, quote, "The concept of transitional justice is aimed at the reintegration of Ukrainian citizens in the occupied territories. There will be no mass prosecutions, but there will be no pardons or amnesties for committed war crimes, crimes against humanity, and other violations. People who hold senior positions in the occupation administrations in both Crimea and the Donbass should be prosecuted." Koronevich went on to elaborate that teachers, doctors, state administration, or social service employees dealing with domestic issues are unlikely to be prosecuted. However, officials of the occupation government who are involved in the seizure of Ukrainian territories, have committed war crimes, and violate human rights should not hope to escape justice, and that is why Ukraine's initiative on transitional justice has brought about such a negative response from collaborators. That's it for this week. Stay safe and be on the lookout for fakes. Please keep washing your hands and practice social distancing to protect yourself from the coronavirus, and keep exercising those critical thinking skills to protect yourself from Russian disinformation. As always, if you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, forward it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.